Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes, all's well. Does that mean we're not going to have a talk while you're in the retreat? Yes?
That is correct. So those
All
two
right.
Tuesdays we will, yeah,
All right, good, good.
close.
Right.
You get another break.
Yeah. Yes. All right, well, is anybody new here today? Hasn't been here before? Yes, no? All right, so the presentation is vaguely around this idea of non-duality, but the only way really you can approach that idea is to look at duality, to look at subject object, to look at act and react, this and that, yes and no, to see there's something fishy in a way. We feel we're singular, but really our activity is mostly a dualistic activity. But we're pictured as a body that we can see as separate from other bodies. And I don't seem to have like a vanilla bottom and a chocolate top. I feel like it's one body. And therefore we have a sense, it lends us a sense of oneness. And therefore we don't believe the idea of duality in a way. Most people don't question it. They just see it. Hey, things go up, things come down. Things get great, things get bad, yes? But if you boiled it down to the microcosm or the macrocosm, I think it's the microcosm, just look at the subject objectness going on during the day. Sometimes you're thought about, yes? The head is thinking about you and you're pictured as an object. And sometimes you believe you're the thinking of those thoughts, which would imply that you're the subject. So somehow or another, there's a mix-up between object and subject, and the object is taken to be that which is subjective. Yeah. So Paul is what's seeing, Paul is what's thinking, and Paul is seen as a body. Yeah. You really don't have to go any further if you just see that, because everything gets compounded from that sort of misunderstanding. So hopefully the understanding of non-duality brings into highlight the misunderstandings we seem to be living from. Yeah. So hopefully the understanding of non-duality, which is rooted into being ourselves reality. Yeah. From that understanding, there'll be a negation of the misunderstandings. What is the misunderstanding? That I'm a long-lasting, independent, separate thing? Those type of misunderstandings. Yeah. Misunderstanding about time and all these things start to become clear, not in time, but from what we are, from, let's say, a timeless aspect. So the non-duality is the premise, is a premise or a basic assumption that being ourselves reality. And then we look at the other assumptions we're living from seemingly today, and hopefully those assumptions will be negated by the fact being ourselves reality. Yeah. So it doesn't sound crazy if Paul is seeking reality. Yes, it doesn't. You know, in some circles that would give Paul a lot of kudos. You know, Paul would have self-esteem coming from and get an affirmative response from other people who are doing the same thing. But being ourselves reality, it's the greatest mystery, as Ramana puts it, being ourselves reality, wanting to attain reality. Yeah. See, we don't see the being ourselves reality. We see being ourselves Paul or Jacqueline or Jimmy or Billy. And then that totally changes any clear seeing, because now we're seeing through that. Yeah. So I find there's a lot of people who are very clear, but they cannot be clear. They may not be clear about that. They may not be clear about the identification as a self, yeah, as this long-lasting, independent, separate entity, although they're clear about everything else. Yeah. Now, to me, I find more value in being clear about that, and then just being on an I don't know or need to know condition about everything else. Yeah. Just it allows me to travel lighter, because sometimes when you're clear about everything else as the long-lasting independent separate entity, it makes it even heavier, really. Yeah, you're weighed down by all this knowledge, sort of like being a professor of holes, but you keep falling into holes. Yeah, so what's the value of that knowledge? Yeah, I don't see much of it. So this is just getting to the primary point, and see, there is no point, you know. So there you go. Yeah, what's one to do when you see what you're not? Not much, really, probably, because what's there to do? I mean, you can't go into battle with an imaginary foe. You can't kill a non-existent thing. Yeah, you can't escape from something you're not in. It's impossible. So all the heroic journeys the head loves to launch and take off on are stopped right from the get-go. You're not going to be pictured on a cliff with your hair being blown back, with ex-girlfriends and hopefully future girlfriends adoring your great sacrifice of surrender. That's just a mental stage. Yeah, it has nothing to do with anything. So I wanted to call Paul and tell him I'd been disappeared for 3 weeks. Who's telling me that? If you disappeared, there'd be no message from you. What sends the message about you disappearing? Is that you? Come on. Yeah. So the non-duality is, to me, a very liberating, disarming message. It just turns the interest and attention in the right direction. Instead of looking for what you are from what you're not, you see what you're not from what you are. Instead of looking for what you are from what you're not, you see what you're not, looking for what you are as what you're not. Really, that's what happens. Yeah. And then just let the chips fall as they may. I don't think it's a rote chip falling. It could appear in a lot of ways. In my case, I had a lot of investment in being a spiritual seeker, so that rug was pulled out from underneath me. And I was left with my spiritual pants down, and thank God I didn't pick them up. Yeah. So basically, maybe someone else, it would be, who knows how. That's the beauty of it. There's no rote, all right, this happens and then it looks this way, because there's no this happens. So whatever way it's looking is looking that way. Yeah. So we get confused and surprised, but that's just from a small myopic idea of thinking, you know. So basically, that's the message. If you don't believe, or if you're believing that you're not reality, that you must attain it, and therefore you must purify, and you need to do a lot of stuff. Well, if you really feel like you need to do it, you better do it. Yeah. Yeah. Because then it will fail you and you'll be convinced. Yeah. If you're not convinced by a share, then you're going to have to be convinced the hard way, so to speak, by, you know, putting all your chips on that square and losing. Yeah. That's how a failed system shows value, by failing. So hopefully you'll get tired of using what you are to look for what you are. And then maybe that exhaustion will open up a possibility. Hey, I am that. Yeah. Because most of us are trying to survey I am that by what we're not. You know, it's judging. You're thinking you got to have like you don't blink for 5 minutes, or deep blue eyes, and very like an exotic gaze, and, you know, speak in monotones. This is all insane, isn't it? I am that here in the dreaming can appear any way it wants. You know, it doesn't have to come with robes and a monotone and a year description to yoga journal. It doesn't have to look like that. It can look like a typical character who, you know, likes Slurpees and freaking reads, the obit page. You know, it doesn't matter. I met people I used to visit this guy, Peter Fonda, an old Italian guy, I had from a car accident, one of my feet got misshaped, so to speak. So I had to get special shoes and through the state, and it led me to meeting this old shoemaker, Peter Fonda, who used to make shoes for Mother Teresa. And he had all this Catholic stuff in this little place. And he was very short dude, but the guy was wide awake. I mean, he was just, there was a lot of juice there. And I just loiter at this freaking shoe store just to hang out with the guy. Yeah. And the way he saw from that awakeness was through Catholicism, through Catholic eyes, really. You had Catholic glasses on. But the fact is, if you take those glasses and who had them back to that source, it was all there. Yeah. So it's at our own loss when we view, everything through these conceptual glasses, because they omit a lot of stuff. You don't see things clearly. You see how something wants you to see things. Yeah. So this is why we come back. And now it sounds great that I have a break. Well, that's awesome. I dig that. Yeah. Now I can, Was I looking for a break? No. But now do I get a break? Yes. Isn't that cool? Yeah. Would I have come every Tuesday? Sure, if I'm available. But now that I don't, hey, I'll really enjoy it, maybe. That's like a quick call and response. So life calls and then there's a response. It's not life calls and then you get back to it 4 days later. It's sort of like you're awake to being awake. Yeah. It's not there's no ribbons offered, you don't get a medal. It's just the obviousness becomes overriding. Yeah. And you can see the mental state really dwells in what's not happening. And the only way what's not happening can appear, it must appear to what's happening, which is us. Yeah. So when you lose interest in what's happening, wow, what happens? It seems like what's happening has lost its interest in you. You're not now enslaved to yesterday and tomorrow today. You're completely here today. Yeah. I mean, it's like a journey that has no reward because you never left any time and you never arrive anywhere. Yeah. It's just the way it's always been. There was just like a level of interpretation and dreaming that seemed to disguise it sufficiently to fool someone for maybe 20 years. I mean, but it can't withstand scrutiny. It falls apart sooner or later. Yes. Hopefully not at the last second of your life. It would be nicer if it doesn't happen in your deathbed, but what the hell? It'd be nice to be traveling lighter now. Yeah. Yeah. So if you have any questions, I hope you don't, but if you do have any questions, I can go into it if you like. I can describe the mental states and how they work to a certain level. I'm not an expert, but I know its main movement. And, it has a magic trick that needs time as the main ingredient, because really what happens is that which comes after. So there's the seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, and being present, whatever. And then something that comes after that is all that is meant to imply a Paul. And then Paul gets presupposed before everything. And now you think you're doing a whole lot of stuff you have nothing to do with, really. Yeah. And now you're living a noun life amongst a lot of verbing and trying to make freaking sense out of it. Yeah. And seeing life as happening to you is an incredible misunderstanding. Yeah. Because now you're going to have resentments towards God or something else. Why is this all happening to me? Why not? Who knows? Yeah. But this whole idea of this constantly claiming from the verbs that there's a noun involved, that's the bondage of self. It's an activity. Yeah. It needs us for it to complete its mission. That's why your thoughts aren't playing outside on your forehead, are they? Like everyone can see a little screen of Saina going, fuck this, I'm sick and tired of this. No, it's turned this way, and there's only an audience of none, really, but something of us is there. And this thought system is presenting something all day, an interpretation of life, really. Yeah. And like the juicy part or the jewel of it all is the idea of it's being you. That's where the cherishing occurs. It makes up a something that is presented as you. And then somehow or another, the attention and interest starts getting wedded to the preoccupation with this you that you're not. Yeah. What happens if you see you're not that? There's a loss of interest in it. The audience stops paying attention so much to the movie, really. Yeah. And then what happens? Find out. They'll be paying attention to a lot of other activities. Yeah. And then maybe the ability to enjoy peace of mind will be reinstated. Yeah? And it won't take you 30 minutes. You'll stop and there it is. Yeah? A pause will be like a whole, an eternity of it. Yeah. Because you're available. Yeah. There's not a preoccupation with what you're not anymore. It still gets presented, but there's a listening to it, but not, there's a hearing of it, but not a listening to it. You just lose interest because it's not you. Yeah, finally. Yeah. And then you go back to non-duality and you see the seamlessness of the presentation. Being ourselves reality is the fact. Yeah. Why is there dreaming? And why are we cast as the dreaming? By the Course in Miracles. If there's dreaming and we're the act of the dreaming, then we have a pretty big role here, yes? We're not the dreamt, though we take ourselves to be. We're not in something's dream. There's not a dream at all. That would be a thing. It's dreaming. Incessantly, there was no starting point. There's no finish point. It's sort of like coming out of a blackout, I don't know, hopefully none of you had blackouts, but as a recovered addict and alcoholic, I was susceptible for long periods of time of seemingly forgetting who I was, even though there was another Paul that was representing me. Yeah. But when I would come to the old Paul, it was like, parachuting behind enemy lines. I just showed up and it was like, and I was looking to get what are they talking, to try to get in, just move back into the flow of being Paul. Yeah. This is, you can see that from what you are. You can see from the absence of Paul. So when the presence of Paul is constantly assumed, that false evidence doesn't appear real anymore to you. Yeah. It's presented, but it doesn't appear real because you recognize the absence of Paul from the presence of what we are. Yeah. Things have gotten aligned. The horse has always been before the cart, but now even here where it can seem to be behind the cart, it appears to be before the cart. Yes. It stabilizes. In the dreaming, you can see the cart in front of the horse, even though the horse is always in front of the cart. That gets broken. Yeah. Now you're clear. The horse is in front of the cart. Like Zen would say, now you see blue is blue and red is red and green is green. Yes. It's there's a clarity because the interpretation comes later. Yes. You're not seeing through the interpretation, hoping to attain clarity. You're seeing before the interpretation. Yeah. You're seeing the blue as blue and the red as red. And then the interpretation comes in. Paul usually sees it as green, or Paul somehow or another. Yeah. So you can see life's happening and you can see life's happening to me. Yeah. The living of it and then the interpretation of it. You can see it, yeah, from what you are. Who else is going to do that for you? Who else is going to supply the role that you're the only one to have, which is your awareness? Yeah. You need simple invitations, simple suggestions, simple statements of a prior understanding or a new understanding. And then question from there what you've taken to be everything to be so, and just see if it holds water or not. Yeah. Yeah. What would happen if the hand in the glove took a break and saw it may not be the glove? Yeah. Then when the hand was asserted again, the identification wouldn't complete itself. The hand would be the hand within the glove. Yeah. It would not be looking to become a hand as a glove. It would see, I'm not the glove. Yeah. And everyone looks and sees me as a glove, and I'm not the glove. So let me shake hands and do whatever, wave and shit like that, like gloves do. And basically, I can travel lighter as a glove because I'm not a glove. Yes. So just ask yourself, why is it you're not seeing things clearly? Isn't it because there's a you that's looking? So why don't we look at the you that's looking and see that clearly? Stop trying to make the you see clearly, because it can't. It's already biased. Let's see clearly the you looking. Instead of trying to clear up the you's looking, let's see clearly the you's looking. Yeah, see who it is or what it is. And if it ain't you, there'll be a loss of interest in it. And there you go. Yeah. Now your day will be enriched by the faith that used to go into what's not happening. Truly. Instead of being enslaved by thoughts about yesterday and tomorrow, you'll be available to what's happening now. Always, at all times. Yeah. You'll never get gypped. You're awake when you're sleeping. You're awake here. You're awake, wake. Yes. Incessantly on. Yeah. So, well, let's, anyone have any questions?
It's not really a question, but something came while you were talking, a metaphor. It's like I already have these glasses, right, that allow me to see, and that's kind of like awareness. And then I put another pair of glasses on top of these. That's kind of like the ego or the false self. And then I'm trying to see. Well, I didn't need that second pair of glasses. It's just an add-on that's just not needed. It's just this extra thing. It can be there or not.
Well, let's just say the first one are your eyes, not glasses. Let's just say that, yeah. Because then you don't have an option to take them off or on. Unless you want to pull them out of your skull, which I don't feel so. So basically, yeah. And then you have a pair of glasses to seemingly to correct your vision, but it's not your vision. It's self-vision, it's self-centeredness that demands correction. But then you attempt to correct the self-centeredness as a self, which only reinforces the system that you'd like to escape, yes? So we take off both glasses, just like the idea of the thorn in the foot, yeah? Your walking is being bothered. You don't know what it is. You finally stop and you take your shoe off and you see there's a thorn in the sole of your foot. So you look around where you're sitting and you see another thorn. You use the one thorn to take out the other thorn. You don't replace the first thorn with the second thorn. You throw them both away, yeah? So you don't replace the first pair of glasses with a second pair of glasses. You throw them both away, yeah? Yeah, rely on your eyes alone. Rely on the seeing. Rely on the awareness. It'll tell you what you need to know. It will. Yes? But most of us, we find ourselves relying on self. It's not us, it's the mental activity that's sucking up interest and attention. It puts faith into the self. Yeah. So we have a statement in recovery. It says, perhaps there's a better way, trusting something infinite rather than finite self. So obviously it's implying the basic condition is faith in finite self. Yeah. And there's going to be a better way, which is trusting the infinite. Now, that doesn't go that smoothly because there's a hitch. Yeah. When you're identified as that idea of self, when you attempt to gain faith in the infinite, there's actually more faith in self. Yeah. You see? It's sort of like if that which is playing God tries to quit playing God, that's playing God. It can't stop. Yes. There's no place when that which is playing God can quit playing God. That would be playing God. Yeah. So the same way, you have to recognize that there'll be an identification as the one who's now going to put faith in the infinite. You've got to see that. If you don't see it, it will probably work on you. Yeah. You have to become aware of the mental conditioning and its quick arrival. Yeah. And the claiming of being the one who's seeing everything. Yeah. That's the bondage of self. The bondage of self is wherever you are, when that mental state comes to, it claims to be the one that's there. Yeah. So basically, it's like that party that you heard was great. As soon as you arrive, it sucks. You can't the party can't be great with you arriving. It just doesn't work. Yes. So not only have an understanding, being ourselves reality, but have an understanding of how the mental state constantly arises and implies that it's us. Yeah. Really. Or you'll be walking around thinking you're a fucking enlightened self, which you don't want to hang a lot of time out with someone like that. They're absolutely no fucking fun. Really. So just, yeah, that's what I felt the most was needed, was an understanding of how the mental state regroups. It can overcome peak experiences. It can overcome grand epiphanies. It can overcome almost everything and regroup and claim to be the one who was having the epiphany, or who's awake, or who had the peak experiences, which it wasn't there to be found in any of it. Yeah. I feel it's important to notice that. And actually, I feel it's so important we only talk from there for years, because I feel if you don't see this, you're going to look from it. Yeah. Without knowing it, you'll become a self that's an awakened self. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So Kathy has a question.
Hi, Paul. Hi, everybody. Paul, I think my question was just answered in what you were just sharing there, but I was looking for a better understanding, I guess, of what you meant by parachuting in behind enemy lines.
Oh, that was just the idea when I would come. Well, let me give you, if we have a little time, let me give you an idea. This isn't in any medical books or recovery books, but I wasn't using it for any profound thing. I'm just going to share. So there's this a phenomena that a lot of people in addiction fall into, which is blackouts. Yeah. Now, some people, one of the guys who used to be my sponsor, he used to buy plane tickets and fly to different states. So he'd wake up and he'd look out the window to see if there was snow or not, because he had no fucking idea where he was. Try to look at a paper and see if it was Des Moines, Iowa, or something like that. So basically, he would seemingly be, a perfectly functioning action figure, But at this 16th hour, when he showed back up, he thought the last 15 hours and 59 minutes, he wasn't there. Yes. But really, he had a representative, which was this idea of being Paul. And now another, the more familiar representative that has an idea of being Paul, shows back up, and therefore has to completely forget there was another Paul running the show for the last 15 hours, or the whole story of it being the long-lasting, independent, separate, only one thing would be blown out of the water. And there could be 50 Pauls, yeah? Yes? And every time one of the Pauls would arise, its main objective was to forget that there was any other Pauls before. So I was talking more about that. But the idea of parachuting behind enemy lines is when the familiar Paul shows back up, it has no idea what happened a second before. It's completely clueless, and it truly believes you've been out of it for 15 hours. But I'll tell you something, the Paul that used to show up when I was in blackouts actually was a more successful Paul than the Paul that was usually there, because the Paul that was usually there got arrested quite a lot. And a lot of shit happened. I didn't seem to ever get arrested in a blackout. So actually, if I had a vote, I would have voted for the other Paul to be the more familiar Paul. It would be more successful. But you see, one Paul can't allow the possibility of two Pauls because there's no Pauls. Yeah, that would be the obvious recognition. Yes. So that's what I was going about. I had no profound thing about appearing in enemy lines. It's just that there was a Paul that person who was in the room with you was talking to, and then suddenly there's the old familiar Paul shows back up, completely forgets its whole history of the last 16 hours and just calls it a blackout. Yeah. Yet I bought plane tickets. I may have even gotten married. I wrote checks. I paid employees. Everyone in the whole world saw Paul. But the Paul, being a very jealous Paul, could not let any other Pauls be able to appear before it. Yeah. I think that's pretty interesting myself. Yeah. There's a movie called Moon where it's a pretty cool movie. This guy is working on they've had a technological bonanza, and they found minerals that are on the moon that will fuel all the technological toys and fucking shit in the earth. And so this guy's working this huge farm, and only takes one person, and he has all these machines, and they're harvesting this mineral. And he's got a Boston Red Sox hat, which was a mistake. It should have been a Yankee hat. But let's see, he has a Boston Red Sox hat. He's got pictures of his wife and 2 kids, and he's on his last 5 days of his 5-year-long job, and he's going to go back to Earth, and he's made all this cash. So something happens in one of the outposts, and he drives over there on this little space buggy, and he finds something. He finds another person. Yeah, the person's out cold. He brings it. They're in a suit. He brings them back to the wherever he is, the space station, and he takes the thing off, and it's him. It looks just like him. Yeah, and then the thing comes to and starts breaking the news to the guy that he's a clone, and the guy won't believe it. He says, "No, I grew up in Boston. He's got this whole programming." And the other one's going, "Hey, all right, let's go down below. Did you know there was a cellar?" No. They go there, and there's like 3,000 of them there with the same face and everything. And they're all programmed with a story, because if they're only working 5 more days, they work better. Yeah. Yes. So basically, the clone is confronted with the fact that it's a clone. But how does it hear it? It hears it with the human programming. Yeah, it hears, there's irrefutable. He just saw thousands of the unique, long-lasting, independent, separate entity. There's 2,000 of them down below. He's confronted with complete evidence that it's a clone, but its reaction is from the human programming, you see? What's happening with us? The lion, the young lion sees this reflection with the old lion and recognizes there's a lion. What happens 5 seconds later? It's taking itself to be a sheep that had a lion experience. Yes? That's how fast. That's what we're pointing out. I don't think any process can beat it. I don't. Because when you're sitting down to do something, it already has cast you as the doer. You're already bonded to the idea of being the doer before you do freaking anything. Yeah? How are you going to get out of that? How? Tell me. How are you going to meditate yourself out of the meditator? It's not going to happen. So let's at least see it. And maybe all the sacrifice and all the heavy lifting was based from what we're not. Maybe it's quite easy to be awake to what we are. Yeah, because we are. Maybe it's not like a giant, you're going to have to go to any lengths. Any lengths could be no lengths. Yeah. But at least get it down. Let's see what you are. Yeah. You don't see what you are, but see what you're not from what you are, and come to terms with the fact that this mental state isn't volitional. You're not going to suddenly stop it and then it's all going to get great. It's going to go on. It's mechanical. It has nothing to do with you. That's the good news. The way you deal with it is a loss of interest. It's not going to stop, because if you try to stop, the biggest note is you trying to stop the other notes. Yeah. It's still in and of the same system. You can't get out of it. You have to realize you're not in it. That's the solution. How do you do that? By seeing what you're not. Instead of using what you are and look for itself, yeah, use what you are to see what you're not. It's much clearer direction. Yeah. And then see what you move to do or not do. Yeah. But I'll tell you, your inherent condition will not be determined by your coming and going conditions. No way and no way. Your inherent condition will outshine the circumstances and situations. You won't fondle the inherent condition by maintaining or managing the outside circumstances and situations. Yes? No. You will be able to outshine circumstances and situations because you're before circumstances and situations. How could a cloud obliterate the sky? A cloud appears in the sky, probably completely unnoticed by skyness, yeah? Doesn't affect it one bit. Even though our attention goes to the clouds, basically the sky is what allows it all to occur. This is like, instead of clapping for the movie, you clap for the screen, yeah? The screen has allowed hundreds of movies to be shown. Hallelujah. I'm all for the screen. I'm passionate about it because I saw it. I saw the futility of self trying to get out of self. Yeah. Using crude means, using recovery means, using new age means, using spiritual, ancient spirituality means, fucking shamanistic means, occult means, everything means, but it all really boiled down to self trying to get out of self. I wasn't recognizing what I'm in and what I'm out of. Yeah. That mistake will just keep progressing throughout all your efforts. Yeah. So you've been served a subpoena. That's the best I could do. Yeah. There's a mental activity that's faster than you know, and it's going to assume that you're a long-lasting, independent, separate entity, no matter how many clear experiences you seem to get and stuff like that. That's what it does. Yeah. And it's in that act and falling for that act, that's the bondage of self. Yeah. It can be iron chains, gold chains, but there's a bondage of self. Yeah. There's a taking yourself to be something that you're not. Yeah. I don't see how anything can work that out except at the point of conception, really. I just don't see it. Yeah. Because all you're trying to escape is you, trying to escape from you.
Okay, so if I could just sort of reflect back what I think I understand is that the movie's playing, the dream is dreaming, but I'm not, we are not the dreamt. And so the dreamt doesn't exist. So there's nothing to get out of. The dreaming is just going to keep happening, but there's no buy-in. You just got the movie, you bought your ticket or whatever, and, you know, keep eating your popcorn and that's it. Is that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it's not in a rude thing. It has a little life in its own, or the movie would just like liquid would just pour off the screen. So there's a certain modicum of interest and attention that keeps the movie going on the screen. But you travel lighter than than before, because you see how much interest and attention is put into the main character in the Bondage of Self. It's way, yeah. So it's not like you just whistle through every situation. There's things that are hard and they're easy, but you travel lighter through all of it. Yes. Yes.
Because there's no investment.
Well, what's invested in it isn't you. That's more like it. There is an investment in it, but it's not you that's invested in it. That's what changes everything. Yes, the mental state has an investment in it for sure. It's working hard at trying to distract the blue is blue vision. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a, it's not of us though, which is great. Yeah. The whole thing that what everything pivots on is finally seeing it's an activity. Yeah. It's not you doing the activity. It's not the activity that makes up you. It's just an activity called selfing. It has a life of its own. And basically it's being fueled, or it's going to its great heights by our own fuel. So if that's withdrawn, what used to seem to be very opaque and solid, you'll see through. Yes, because it's all on a level of appearance. It's appearing to be true, but there's no truth in it other than that which is seeing it. Yeah. So that's how it is.
Can I ask you one more question about the other Paul that perceived an enemy Paul? Is that Paul still around?
Well, no enemies really, but yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Paul has its own little peculiarities, but thank God they're not me. Yeah, actually, you become more of an individual when you're not one, I feel. So, yeah. There's certain people I feel energy with. I don't go kumbaya with them. Yeah. I don't want to go into a CVC or a Target. I've sat in the parking lot and I counted for 8 hours how many people came in, and a lot less came out. So I think it's a transfer point to another dimension. So I stay out of Targets and CVCs as long as possible. Walmarts. Yeah, there's certain places I don't like to spend time in. I don't action figure. Paul doesn't like to enter bureaucratic time, doesn't want to deal with the Comcast representative or the cell phone provider or whatever, because their solutions don't sound like solutions to me. And it takes a whole lot of time to get to them. So I like to avoid that. Yeah. Yeah. I still feel the presence of police on the highway, even though I haven't been arrested in 33 years. But I feel that's a beneficial thing. You got to be aware of what's going on. I'm always, the action figure is always thinking it's primed to be arrested, as if I did something. Yeah, I have certain likes and dislikes, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Try to avoid stuff I like and try to do more of what I like. Yeah, I like to swim, so I haven't been successful lately. I've been blowing my little swim days, but yeah, stuff like that. I don't see Paul. I don't think the action figure. It's like a bicycle that only has 3 gears, you know? Yeah, maybe a bike could have 24 gears, but this one has 3 gears, you know? Yeah. Yeah. So Paul's agenda has gotten a lot smaller than before. Paul's agenda is sort of like, you know, getting the second piece of cheesecake. Yeah. I'm successful at most occasions. Yeah, things like that.
And what may I ask what the significance of the 3-year agenda is?
The 3-year agenda, what was that? What did I say?
You said that Paul's got 3 years.
No, 33 years of being sober.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay. I heard wrong. Pardon me. I do have
33. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I love your sharing. Thank you. It's really I don't even have a word for it. I just like it. Thanks.
Oh, good. That's good. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, you're not, you know, you almost like the action figure is like a horse with a bit in its mouth. Yeah. I guess it gets used to it thinking there's never any other way, but when it's released, yeah, the horse is very appreciative and has gratitude and awe for the freedom from that bit. I think the action figure was weighed down by weird ideas of perfection it could never fulfill and tons of other things. Once it was realized not to be me, it was probably the best day of the action figure life. Yeah, because then the big mental hen got off of it, like the golden egg. Wow, it's great. It's been great. Yeah. Yeah. So like if I go to the water and swim or surf, I never have a question, why do I go to the water and swim and surf? There's never, there's not much reviewing of the life. Yeah. Yeah. I just like the water. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense, complete sense to me. So, yeah. You know, the value of the message isn't in the message. It's going to be in how you travel as what you're not, really. Yeah. And it would be great if what you're not could produce an ease and comfort in its life. But for many of us, it doesn't. When it pursues to produce an ease and comfort, it makes it heavy and more uncomfortable. Yeah. You must have noticed that. And so it gets put, you know, it comes to terms with its inadequacies and its failedness of a system. And, you know, it's those mental targets are taken away. And now it's just looking, you know, to have a cushion on this chair when I'm doing an hour talk. Yeah. And have a cushion to lay back on. Yeah. Not devising ways of taking over the world. It just wants to have a homeostasis, wants to feel all right. Yeah. Yeah. And then the mind can be free and entertain other possibilities. Yeah. You can sense a lot of shit that you don't see, hear, feel, taste, and touch. Yeah. You've got part of your Geiger counter has never been used. You can pick up presence. You can feel the working of a spirit you can't see. All these things happen. Yeah. Yeah. So anyone else there? Huh? I've got a new outfit I'm going to present to my Zen bitch slap flock. It's going to be matching bottoms like a leisure suit, yeah, with a nice white belt with a Zen bitch slap buckle. How's that? Eh? I think it's pretty cool. Look at it. Yeah, can you see it? You'll never miss them when Zen bitch slap people show up. You'll know they're there. They'll be glowing in the dark. They're lit up. It's only because of the neon yellow. I wouldn't mind that. It would be nice having a leash. We were thinking once there was this funny, I didn't know what it was. I turned on it and I didn't know what it was. It was like 4 minutes and it was an infomercial about this product called Forever Lazy, which was like an adult onesie. Yeah. And so it was like, that Barney from that suit. It was like an adult suit, and they showed people at a tailgating party wearing this adult onesie, sitting on a deck drinking wine, and they said the word lazy about 80 times. And then they're going, and even when you need to do, and they show the flap in the back so you can open and take a piss, go to the bathroom. And I couldn't believe, who the hell would ever leave your house wearing this thing? I couldn't believe it. And they came in 3 colors. I was going to buy it and wear it to the meeting once. They came in, but I'm too cheap. It was $36. I wouldn't do it. But I could see, and the whole thing, it came from that first thing called the blanket with sleeves, so that when you're in, you got the blanket on the couch and you're trying to find the remote and you get tangled up in the blanket. We're going to give you one with sleeves so you can be wearing the blanket and get the remote. Well, this was the next one up. This is basically a sign, I've given up hope. I give up hope. And so you could get booties too that matched the whole thing if you wanted. And then you had, access to remote. And I figured, what they could do? They could just have a special thing that's zipped up and it would be a body bag. So when you died in your lazy boy, they just come over, the company would pay, you'd pay them. They'd come and get your body and get rid of it. Well, I don't know where that came from, but I thought it was funny. Yeah, it was funny. I couldn't believe it, really. I mean, someone sitting up at 2 a.m. thinking that's a good idea to buy this. You got to something's wrong. Something's going on. That, man, yeah, we got to come out of it a little, I think. Yeah. So, well, whatever. Anyone else? We got a few more minutes.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes.
I don't think it's around anymore, the Forever Lazy. I don't know. I think it had its little run and then, I didn't see anyone in public wearing one. Yeah. No, that's it.
Kind of like taking object consciousness to an extreme. That's what that sounds like. That it's quite humorous. Thank you.
Yeah. You really could just basically just have the zipper go a little farther, and you're ready to go horizontal. Pretty much. Throw the remote in there, so you felt like you were going with it to the next slide. I mean,
Brutus says it's available on Amazon.
Is it still? Oh, holy cow. Yeah. Yeah. That wouldn't be bad. Don't you think it's
Paul, Brian does have a question. We have 4 minutes.
Oh, all right. Go ahead. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, Paul. I'm Ryan, and I've been listening to you for a little while. Just quick question. What do you mean? I hear you say being ourselves reality a lot.
Yes.
And I'm just not sure what you mean by that.
Being reality. The ourselves is just an inference, but it's being reality. That's our primary condition. That's the inherent condition. Being reality. When, now, where, here. Yeah. That's the assumption as I see it of non-duality. Yeah. The ourselves was just something they put in with the language, but it's being reality. The greatest mystery, being reality, is reality wanting to attain reality. Yeah. That's what I mean. I mean, who knows? It doesn't look any way being reality. I mean, you can't say that guy's not being reality, that lady's being reality. I mean, it's not like something that can be recognized and it is one way or not another. It's being reality now. Yeah, right now. Underneath or whatever, let's say, I would say more contextually around all these activities we're attending to, the separation and the idea of time and yapping and shit like that, all the while being ourselves context or being context. Yeah, that's the message. That's why we look at what we're not. You can't see what you are, so you might as well look at what you're not. Oh, Judith is showing me her new, she's got a giant truck. Wow. There you go, Judith. Yeah. Did that help you, Ryan, a little?
I think I understand. Yeah. So as opposed to the mistake of thinking I'm Ryan, it's like just being reality.
Well, yeah, just like Ramana would say, to know God is to be God. Yeah. Because fact that you're being God. So maybe you get to the point of finally knowing God. And if you finally seem to know God, that's being God. And you've always been God. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah. So that's the assumption. Now, if you try to live as if your reality as the action figure, it's going to be, just forget it. It gets to the right mail slot. Don't worry about it. Yeah. But to me, being involved in this topic for a while, I haven't studied it, nor do I read anything really anymore. But the assumption it boils down to is that we are what we're looking for. We are that which is, or I am that I am. That's basically the fact that non-duality is based on. And therefore we look from that fact as possibly being a fact. And now we look at what we're not. We see all the other facts. And let's bring them to the light with those facts and see which one stands scrutiny. Yeah. So basically, the understanding of non-duality brings into stark contrast the misunderstandings we're living as. Yeah. And so hopefully the misunderstandings will be negated, and then there'll be an emphasis of life from the idea of non-duality more than from the idea of being the long-lasting, independent, separate thing. Yeah, I would say that's the lightness that the separate thing is looking for, but can't find. Yeah, but it can come through it, and it can observe it, and it can express it, and come to realize, the facts that were put out by non-duality. Yeah, I've been using what I am to look for what I am as what I'm not. All right. So now I see that, and the using isn't working anymore. There's just the act of trying to use what I am to look for what I am as what I'm not, but you see it all. Yeah. And we'll be back. Are we going to be here next week? No. Does the retreat start next week? Oh, all right. So we'll be here next Tuesday. All right. Anyone
Yes,
else?
we'll be here because the next week is the 5th. So
Yeah.
yes, we will be here. And then October, the next one, which would be the 12th, that will be for the next 2 weeks, the 12th and the 19th. This sanctuary will be closed. So.
All right. Okay. Yes. But there's always the open sanctuary of ZenBitchSlap.com. 24/7.
Correct.
Yes. You can
All right,
always come
Paul.
in. There's no dress code. Come in
Unless you can
anyway.
find your onesie.
What? The onesies will be waiting for you. I've taken all your measurements. I think you're one size fits all. And you'll be getting one in the mail. Yeah.
Oh, Paul, we love you.
We'll send you a remote and we'll only access one channel, Zen Bitch Slap on YouTube. There you go.
Thank you, Paul. This is brilliant. So much fun tonight. So lighthearted. Talk about
Right.
traveling lighter.
Yes. All right. Well, please let me say goodbye to everyone. Saina, thank you for doing all this. Yeah, running the show. It always comes out good because you're at the helm. Yeah. We got Connie. Nice to see you, Connie, there. Yeah. We got John K. John K actually has one of the Forever Lazies, I think, really. He's just afraid to break it out, but he's pretty much there. Pretty sure. All right. We got George. There he is. Nice to see you, George. Rhoda, she's the mastermind behind everything. Here's Kerry and Judith working hard on this lovely property in the Big Island. Yeah. Yes. Nice to see you, Kerry. He doesn't hear us. Jacqueline, nice to see you. We got the AT radio computer. It's hard to shake hands with that. We've got Anne and Ryan and Kathy and Andy W. There's Judith again and Kerry. Hi, guys. Yes.
Paul, it's getting ready, Paul.
Yeah,
We're
they're
getting
building
ready for you.
a temple.
They're building the compound. The compound.
Wow, huge.
Have fun.
Hey, Judith. What a beautiful
Love you.
Wow, it's awesome. It's quite green, eh?
Aloha.
Aloha. Yes.
Yeah, quite green. Aloha.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. Yeah. See you guys. And thank you, everyone. Thanks for Rhoda. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next week. We'll still be here. Adios.